We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC in Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, get ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor. When you hear that music, you know what's up. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Facebook page and YouTube channel. Thrift Barringer alongside Richie Rich Holdridge. We had a fantastic week of state championship broadcasts. We'll get into that in just a moment. But Richard, I hope your lovely wife, Stacey, and your two daughters, y'all all celebrated her and her being the mother of your children, and celebrate all the moms out there. I know I did with Miss Natalie. And also with my mom. I hope you did the same, Richard. Enjoy your Mother's Day weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Thrift, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. It's a very special time, and we mentioned that over the weekend on several broadcasts of how important mothers are, especially not just to us, but also these student athletes. I mean, because really, if it wasn't for the mothers, a lot of the sporting events, getting to and from practice, I mean, that couldn't be possible.
No, it would not be possible at all. So thank you to all the moms out there, and especially the sports mom, since this is a sports show. We appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed your day, and we hope you're celebrated all the time for what you do for your families. We got a great show today. We're going to have on state champion winning coaches. Can't say coach, but coaches. First, we're going to have on Coach Tim Fanning of the Glenwood Gators, winning his 10th state championship in his era at Glenwood. 24th in school history. Look forward to talking with him. And then we're also going to have on Tony Rasmus, who just won a state championship with Lakeside. So give him another state championship in his illustrious career in coaching. We're also going to have Brookstone Greg Mathis. Look forward to talking with him, and potentially AJ Keogh. Probably not. It's a busy week for them. They got getting ready for the state championship on Wednesday. Brookstone's playing in the state championship on Thursday. So today, the Coach Greg Mathis has some free time, and look forward to having him on. We've had him on the last 3 weeks. Also, congratulations to Steve Smith and the Calvary Christian Knights. We plan on having them in person for our live show, Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC showroom this Wednesday. And I look forward to seeing Steve there, winning his 6th straight state championship in Calvary, cementing their legacy as the greatest GAPS team. Glenwood cementing their legacy as the greatest AIS baseball program. And these two guys are going to go to a new league, but I still expect the dominance to continue. Isn't that right, Richard?
I actually think that the dominance will carry over to the GIAA. Just looking at the competition and what Calvary did, and facing the Kings Academy in that championship, both schools are going to go to the GIAA next season. And we're just going to have an exciting rivalry with Calvary Christian, Brookstone, and Pacelli all in 4A for the GIAA. And I think that Calvary is not going to skip a beat. I mean, they've won 6 straight GAPS champions. I would put them as the favorite to win the GIAA next year, as one of the favorites, probably up there with First Presbyterian Day with Brookstone. By the way, that is the championship. So when you look at how Calvary is ranked throughout the state, I mean, why not slide into, a little bit higher tier of a league, but still can compete at a high level and get to Macon eventually for that state championship next year.
Well, we can't wait to be able to do that, Richard. And by the way, we're also going to mention at some point throughout the show, somehow, some way, and of course it's this year of all years, which I just got done listening to podcasts. They said this draft is one of the worst drafts in the history of the NBA. And that's what the Atlanta Hawks got the #1 pick for. So as incredible as it was with a 3% chance to get the number 1 overall pick, you got it for a draft that doesn't mean anything. This may be a hot take, but I'm hearing that teams like the Brooklyn Nets wouldn't trade a player like Mikal Bridges for the number 1 overall pick. The Celtics wouldn't trade a player like Derek White, let alone a Brandon Ingram or any other type A-list player if you want to trade it for a package. So I ultimately think they're going to be wrong on this. I do think there's going to be at least 1 or 2. Who knows if that's the Hawks, who they're going to get, and even that's what they do with it. But the fact that they're saying that the trade value in the number 1 pick this year is nothing, that is pretty incredible. So we're going to have a hot take on that. We'll talk, me and Richard, as he was excited about it. So hopefully he'll be the optimistic. I'm the pessimistic fan. But we're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest of the day. My man just keeps winning state championships. He's about to have a ring for every single finger on his 2 hands. This guy is part of the Glenwood lore, has 24 state championships in school history. That's incredible. But to win 10 in the last 19 years since he won his first one back in 2005 is pretty incredible, and shown as why Glenwood has been the top baseball program over that time period. Coach, thank you so much for joining us, Coach Tim Fanning.
Thanks for having me, man. That's I guess this is our last hurrah together.
Well, this will until we do sitting down with the athletic directors. Remember, we did that last year, so we'll be doing that coming up here in the near summer. But Coach, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the entire series. Then we're going to talk about the season, your legacy, and stuff like that. So everybody, bear with us. We're going to get into it. Coach, you played a really good Lee Scott team. Okay. I think that there were some times in the series, especially the first 2 games, you left some runs on the board, and you would probably admit to that as well. But to overcome the adversity that you saw early in the season, I felt like that was coming back a little bit against Lee Scott, having that winner take all. What did you learn about your team to overcome that last extra inning game in game 2 to come into game 3 and put on a performance that was pretty incredible, inspiring?
Well, I did feel like, losing a game like that is never great. Obviously, we did that at the beginning of the year, and we had not done that. I guess maybe once or twice all year. I did feel like that they would bounce back when it was time. They've been a pretty even killed bunch, even though, we are extremely young and had a lack of experience. The 6 seniors that were on our team, I felt like they were a very calming influence all year. They didn't ever get really too high or too low. And I can never say how much I appreciate that in the midst of inexperience. And when you play as many games as we play,
right,
and then guys who are new to it, it's a grind, and it's tough on kids that are young and haven't done that before. So I think, our seniors did a great job all year of being a calming influence, and like I said, not getting too high or too low. So I did feel like that we would respond. Now, whether you make the plays or not, that's a totally different thing. But, I did feel like going into game 3, I felt like we had an advantage on the mound. Hudson Campbell has been great all year long. We purposely did not throw him against schools in Alabama so that no one would see him. That's just something I've done over the years, and I always have a guy for game 3 in a state championship that we feel gives us an advantage. And it's usually a younger guy that people wouldn't have anything on. And as you can see, you were there. I mean, they didn't have but 1 hit through 5 innings. It's just, he got a little tired and got a little wild at the end, and, which is not unusual in that stage, So, we left a lot of guys on base and kind of dug ourselves a hole, put us in those positions where the game's honestly closer than I thought they should be.
Coach, you split the first 2 games against Lee Scott on Wednesday. Lee Scott ends up winning it in walk-off fashion. There was rain in the forecast on Thursday, which pushed the game 3 winner-take-all on Friday. Was that a little bit of an advantage for your starting pitching and your bullpen to have that extra day's rest?
I don't know that it was an advantage from our starting pitching, but for the bullpen, I guess having Levi Pender have an extra day of rest definitely didn't hurt. After having that outing he did and giving up that blowing the lead in that game 2. So it was kind of good, I guess, to maybe let him calm down and mentally. I don't think physically there was anything to benefit from an extra day, but you never know if it did or not. I know that, like I said, I mean, it wasn't, when we were sitting there, at the school and it was raining. I just maybe, we've dealt with that this season. We had several, rainouts during the year, and
Right.
and they're just, go in the cage, hit, have fun, just hang out with each other, talk about things, not, like I said, not getting too high or too low, and just the grind of the season. I thought our guys continuously did that all year long, and it really didn't seem any different. And then when we showed up on Friday morning, I knew we were ready. The guys were loose. They weren't tight. It wasn't, didn't seem like they were under a lot of stress, but, so I was super proud. There were some, had a few conversations with a couple of the older guys, and just talking about things, about, how we needed to execute, how we needed to do things different than, in the prior 2 games. So, I guess, yeah, a day of rest did me better. I can tell you that. I mean, I felt better having a day off after those 2 stressful first games, but, I don't play, but, it helped me.
I got to tell you this, Coach. Selfishly, I was glad because I love you, Richard. And Richard was going to do a great job, but I wasn't going to be able to make the call on Thursday. But Friday, I wasn't going to miss that opportunity. All right, Coach, let's talk about the moves you make. And honestly, I said the same thing to Steve because he did something similar on Friday. It reminds me a lot of Nick Saban in the aspect of when he just yanked Jalen Hurts, put in Tua Tagovailoa. And I know that's the biggest stage, but Coach, you decided to put in a freshman in Andrew Wilkinson, who every broadcast, there's 3 broadcasts going on Wednesday, and nobody had any stats. So of course, everyone's saying this is his first at bat, and it came in the 6th inning of a 1-run game with 2 outs or whatever it may be. And then you decided to start him. Now, obviously, he's had some at bats after talking with Matthew White, who was on the broadcast with me Friday, and shout out to him for doing that. But what went into that thought process, man? And then the fact that not only did you put him in there, you gave him the confidence where he went 3 for 4 in the game, and honestly, I thought was a player of the game. What made you, make a move like that?
Well, one thing that is different in that move, and then one that Nick Saban will make, is the paycheck afterwards.
Yeah,
it's definitely different. But
right.
Well, sometimes you just have a feeling of what you have to do, and you have to trust, the process, and trust our program has gotten kids to a certain level where they can perform. And be quite honest, he is a great young player in our program, and we've, had our eye on him for quite some time, you know what I mean? And bringing him up, for a West Coast term, organically,
Right.
the right way, letting him, start all the games on the 9th grade team, and then bringing him up to the B team, and then, letting him get some pinch hits, and so I think he was ready for the moment. He has a very calm mindset as a hitter, and you can tell that, so it's just one of those things. When you're that close to winning a state championship, you're going to try to pull out all the stops, so to speak. I guess that's a cliche. You pull out all the stops. But I will tell you this, and it's not just about making a move here or there or a few or whatever, but you owe it to those kids too. And you owe it to everyone in the program. You owe it to everyone that has hung a baseball on that wall.
Yep.
To do whatever is necessary in your mind as the head coach to give you the best opportunity to win. And that's what our moves signified to me, is we felt like that was our best chance to win. And it's like sometimes you get probably too much blame. You probably get too much, adulation for making those moves, because the players at the end, they made you look like a smart coach because they came through, right? And,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's, moving Jackson down to the 8 hole from the 2 hole, just feeling like it would take some pressure off of him, because I know how important it is to him, and how he wanted to do good so bad, being his last game, and that pressure of hitting behind Mason, and just, what he was doing to himself, and I think that maybe calmed him down a little bit and took a little bit of pressure off, and you saw the results. He was 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs out of the 8 hole as well. So, I mean, just those 2 guys had 6 hits, and it was really cool to watch. I can tell you that. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, Jackson's been with me for such a long time. His family, and his cousin last year had an amazing year, won a state championship, and his sister is great friends with my daughters. Like, I've just known him forever, and to be a part of that situation and to see how low he was only 2 days earlier, I'll be honest, I'm glad I had big sunglasses on, because I got tears in my eyes when he was doing that. I mean, I really did. I felt so amazing for that young man that his fortunes could turn around like that in the matter of 2 days.
And you kept believing in him, Coach. I think that's the biggest thing. Even though you put him in a position you thought he would be successful, between him and then I may mention Andrew Wilkinson, let him play in the winner take all is pretty incredible. Isn't that right, Rich?
Oh, absolutely. But Coach, my question to you is, how did this championship team compared to last year's championship team that won the 41 games, that had players
46.
like Jackson? 46. I'm looking at Matt. I'm sorry. I looked at Max. 46. See, 3 of you would know because you called most of the games. But yeah, how did the championship from this year compare to last year?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a big question. I mean,
it is.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, they're completely different. They're absolutely completely different. You have one team that was, and you don't want to say destined to do something. That team last year was in that same position the year before, and every one of those guys were starters, right? And they had been there on that stage before. They won 40 games the year before. They just happened to lose the last 2 to an unbelievable team, Pike, and 2 pitchers that, I mean, it was completely different series. Nothing but pitching and defense in both games, and and it came down to one play here or there, and that was it. And then that next year, they just, they were like animals. I mean, they were, and they, you had 12 seniors, and 10 of them went to the next level. So there was just a lot more. It was almost like business as usual. And with this group, it was almost every week there was something different that come up, and they were like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. Wow, I can't believe that just happened. You know what I mean? So you just saw the growth on a weekly basis, whereas the other group, they were grown, so to speak. And it was, you move to next year, right? And you're going to see more of that type of atmosphere, I think, with the group coming back, because, we only lose, 3 seniors that are on the field, for next year. And, so as far as guys that are on the field, it's going to kind of have that same feeling, I think, over the next couple of years as the group that we had last year.
It was an unbelievable run last year. Top 10 team nationally, kind of like what Brookstone's doing this year. Glad to be a part of both these championships, Coach. And you made mention when I asked you after the broadcast, I was thinking about that 08-09 team. That would have been my sophomore year. It was an incredible team that, had Dudley Taylor and David Langley and all those seniors. They won a state championship. The next year, Coach, you upset a Pike team that everyone was, penciling in as the best team in the AISA, and you made mention that was kind of like this year. Even though I don't think there was a Pike on the other side, I don't think anybody thought you were going to be the favorite to win it this year. They thought Lee Scott, Clark Prep, any of these teams, Macon East, any of these teams were going to finally overthrow your team. But that early stretch when you were 0-4, and I know you made mention, you talked about like either you're going to be the worst team in the Glenwood history or you're going to turn it around and you're going to go 36-4 in your last 40 games. Just talk about the resiliency and what this group did become at the end of the year and what it meant to you, Coach.
Well, it was a lot like that. I really felt that way because we had a lot of talented sophomores that next year after Dudley and Tooker and Livingston. Right. I mean, all those guys, and they had been together for a long time. There was a lot of lifers in that group. Yep. Stevie Argo, like there was a bunch of them. And in that next year, though, we were very talented, but we had sophomores like Will Allison and Matthew Cullenberg and Chase Silvani, and just ended up doing great things, in college and playing and all that. But they were sophomores, and they just didn't kind of know any better, right? They didn't know that they weren't supposed to win. They were going with a baseball player, and they're supposed to win the championship. And by God, that's what they did. And Pike just didn't have an answer for those kids. Like it frustrated them so much that we didn't think they were as good as they thought. I mean, they were like 33-1. Like their one was going to Troy, and their one, and they just, and I did kind of feel that way. Like these kids just, they love playing baseball. They love playing with each other. And it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, they don't really know any better than to be there, and that's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, because they can, take for granted that you don't just get there all the time. And I kind of shared that, after the game, and maybe why I just was very emotional during this series. Like I don't know what it was. It just maybe the last time playing on that field, or, as I get older, maybe they just mean more because, you just don't take it for granted, and things that I've gone through in my life in the last 5 years. And, it just, they really bought in, whether they bought in or they were just too scared to say anything, because I was pretty hard on them. I'll be honest, but I tell them too, like if I quit getting on you, then there's a problem. And when guys are very talented and I know the potential they have, and that's what I tell them, I'm gonna ride them like Zorro, and that's what I expect, and I knew they could take it. And they did, and they just continually got better and better and better. I mean, like defensively, like when we start off the year, we were atrocious. Like we were terrible. And, we made a few minor adjustments and just kind of stuck with the plan. And they just, like I said, I mean, they just got continually better over the course of the year. And I mean, we just didn't give up, a lot of unearned things. And that's why, it was a little disappointing to start with. We gave them a few things and kept them in the game in this series, and we had not done that in a while. So like you said, though, it was cool to see them respond, not negatively, but just kind of, all right, well, we did this before, so it's time for us to win.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Coach. And again, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of the run. We're going to ask one more question because we got Greg Mathis from Brookstone coming up next, and he's got a big-time state championship series trying to get like UNC Smith, Coach. talk about, if you will, like this is you talking to, like I asked you on Friday, to the Glenwood family and the school and the fan base. Coach, this is 10 rings on your finger. This is hundreds of kids going to the next level. And now you're about to make a jump to the HSAA. We don't have to talk about that now. We'll have time to talk about that over the summer. But just what this meant to you as a, in my opinion, future Hall of Famer, the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame, and what Glenwood has meant to you all these years. You now get 10 state championships. I know it's got to be surreal for you.
Oh, it is. And now, every day you get farther away from it, you get to reflect more, right? And I think with each day, there's you just feel, if I can say it, more blessed every single day. And it's because in that moment you're just sitting there and you're thinking, how do I deserve this? And that's a hard thing sometimes for men is to accept God's grace. We don't believe we deserve it. And just, I have grown up at Glenwood. I didn't go to Glenwood, but I've spent half my life at that school. And for just to have my daughters my daughter grew up on that field too, because they've been all those state championships over the years, and to see Coach Boyd's son jumping on the pile, the same way, they were involved. And then and you're talking about full circle, Trey Clarity is on my team now, and he's in those pictures as a bat boy inside of our hitting facility,
right,
on all those billboards, and he's yay tall to a grasshopper because his dad was coaching with me, and now he's a player. You know what I mean? And it's just, it is surreal sometimes, and I hate to use that word, but it's actually I cannot begin to tell you how honored I am to be the head baseball coach at a program like this, because they have given me the platform to do what God has called me to do. And I'm thankful every day that I get to come to work and do what I do. And these young men, they have done a lot for me, a lot more for me than they'll ever know. And I'm just thankful. I don't know how else to say it, but I'm honored, and I take it very seriously, the job that I have leading the Glenwood baseball program. You
come straight from the heart every time with you. You're a genuine guy, Coach, and you know how much you mean to me and how much we appreciate you believing in us when we first started Georgia Alabama Sports Live from the very bottom. We're not nowhere near where we want to be, but I promise you, Glenwood's always going to be at the top of the list because they've been there from when I was live streaming off my phone. Coach, thank you so much. Hopefully we, depending on how the weather is, but I know a lot of your guys, Camden White, playing in his third All-Star game. Coach, I mean, from
that's pretty awesome, huh?
Football, basketball, and now baseball. I mean, that's pretty incredible feat for this young man that's going to play at Huntington. I told his dad he should be very proud of him. So, Coach, if we don't see you on Wednesday, we'll talk to you here real soon. Congratulations again, and I love you, brother.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Go Gators.
And that is Coach Tim Fanning from the Glenwood Gators. Great conversation with him. 10 state championships, baby. All right, Richard, let's move on from Coach Fanning, and let's go ahead and bring on our next guest. From one great guest to the next. And by the way, I got to say this. I was talking with DJ Jones. He's like, man, let me tell you, me and Greg Mathis used to have our battles now. He used to get me with the curve. I took him yard a few times back in the day. He says, but you were a heck of a pitcher, and you're also a heck of a coach. Man, to take on Strong Rock, Coach Mathis, and to handle them the way you did, the defending champions, the team that beat Pacelli, how impressed were you with your team this past Friday?
Well, getting back to DJ, yeah, we had battles all the way from Sally Little League and coming up through middle school. And he went to Carver, I went to Kendrick. Back then, that was a big rivalry. But yeah,
Yep.
Strong Rock. God, I was so proud of our guys. They're a very good team. Of course, they have the pedigree from winning it last year. Had a lot of guys back, and we went over and watched them play Pacelli, and they were probably one of the hotter teams in the playoffs.
Yep.
So we know we were playing a strong team, and we just never gave up. We kept battling. Did some great things on the mound. Pitching's been our big thing, and had some. We talked last week about the lineup turnover, and the bottom of my 7, 8, 9 guys in the 2 games.
Yep.
We have this big thing. I'm not a big batting average guy, but I love the on base percentage stat of how you're getting on, whether it be a walk or getting hit by a pitch, or hits do count, but our 7, 8, 9 guys in those 2 games, which is Madden Dismukes and Charles Briscoe and Will Turner, those guys got on a total of 10 times in the 2 games, which gets you back up to the your Taft Middleton and your Mercer Hudson, your Cole Stansel, and those type of guys, Taylor Hancock. So we talked last week and said it would be big for us if they did get on base a lot, and they answered the call. They did their job, and of course we were very fortunate. Held on. Brendan Neal, Taft Middleton was good. Struck out 14 again. In the last 2 games, he struck out 29. Shinu Kim, just a steady performance again, and then we brought Brendan Neal in there to close, that freshman. So he did a great job too. So we're excited.
Yeah, and before Richard, you asked the question. It's pretty unreal. Coach Fanning throws a freshman in a winner take all. He goes 3 for 4. Coach, I don't know if you heard that. Was a player of the game in that winner take all to win it. Coach Steve Smith had his hitter had a not a no hit, but had a shutout going and decided to bring in a closer, which actually worked out really well because the closer ended up striking out the side. And I'm like, man, how do y'all make these moves? And you talk about it. You bring in a freshman against a Strong Rock team that can, with their bats, can come back at any point. You're only up by 2. I mean, you guys, man, I'm telling you, this is why y'all get paid the big bucks. Go ahead, Richard.
Coach, the stage is set. Thursday at historic Luther Williams Field in Macon, taking on the number 1 seed, First Presbyterian Day. First of all, the matchup. Have you had time to scout First Presbyterian Day? And how are the players feeling, getting ready to play under the bright lights of a very historic ball field, home of the Macon Bacon, the Macon Braves? I mean, minor league baseball this is where the home of minor league baseball is in Macon. And it's just going to be just an incredible atmosphere on Thursday and Friday. And so how's the team feeling?
Well, they're excited, obviously. This is the first time that Brookstone's been in the finals since 1981.
Jeez.
Wow.
Been 43 years. I've got a couple of guys coming. Actually, the winning pitcher in that game was Steve Sparks, the coach over at Northside. So I've got a couple of guys that were on that team going to come by this week and talk to our players just to tell them about the excitement of being in the and to put a little history to it. So we're going to have a couple guys come by, but our kids are excited. I mean, we're playing a very good First Presbyterian team. They've got a shortstop, Keon Johnson. He's the Perfect Game has him ranked as the number 1 player in the sophomore class.
Jeez.
He's an outstanding player. He's got 2 very good pitchers. The Bryant kid, he's a left-handed kid. He's won like 11 games. And then they've got the big kid. If you remember them in football, the big tight end, Garrett Spillers, is a big, powerful left-handed hitting kid. So, they've got some good players, and there's a reason why they're ranked number 1. It's not because there ain't any good, but we're excited though because it's been us and them 1 and 2 all year, so something's got to give.
Yeah, well, Coach, what's going to happen here the next couple of days leading up to it? That's was my question with Coach Fanning and Steve last week. Steve Smith from Calvary, Tim Fanning from Glenwood. What was it the practice like today? What's it going to be like Tuesday and Wednesday leading up to Thursday's game one? Because how the GIAA does it, they're not like gaps in the AISA where they played a doubleheader and then if necessary the next day they're playing one game at a time. So you have game one Thursday at 7, game 2 Friday at 7, if necessary on Saturday. But what's the itinerary for the rest of the week getting ready for First Presbyterian?
Well, one of the main things is don't get anybody hurt, but
Right.
we're gonna try to do a little, depending on the weather. Everything's dictated by the weather. Today we were kind of handicapped, so we did a little throwing and hitting in the cage, and we always say that we're 26-5. We're 31 games in the season. We don't want to overhaul the engine. We just want to tune it up, and that's what we do. We went down. We hit a lot in the cage and went over some things in the classroom. Actually, try to make sure some of the mental things that we can go over, but we try to keep our routine. If we get a chance tomorrow, if the weather permits, we'll try to throw some live and do our regular practice that we've done all year. We're not going to change anything this late in the game, but main thing is to keep everybody healthy and don't get anybody hurt. We don't need a freak accident of somebody getting hit in the hand or doing anything like that, because we always say part of ability is availability, and if you're hurt, you ain't available. So that's what we're just trying to keep everybody healthy and keep them tuned up.
Yeah.
But we're excited. There's a lot of excitement going around the school. We had great crowds with Strong Rock. Strong Rock travels well, and our people will travel well too. And being able to host was really a big thing for our school. We had a lot of people there, so it had a lot of excitement, and it's still carried over this week. A lot of the young kids, they're still, we got 3rd and 4th graders walking around talking about baseball game. So
Nice.
that's the good thing about being in a private school. It's got a family, and I know I talked to Tim earlier today, congratulated him. That guy does a great job, and he's talked to me some things. They played First Presbyterian earlier in the year, so we talked about some things, but we all try to help each other around the Bi-City area.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Coach, we had the privilege of live streaming several of the Brookstone games, to include the Border Wars, the game against Columbus, the game against Calvary and Pacelli. And one thing we've noticed about your team, I mean, we know about the bat of Taft Middleton, but your team is very balanced, and you have a mixture of seniors and freshmen like Brendan Neal, and your pitching is really set up with Taft Middleton and Sean Woo Kim and Brendan Neal. But really, how special of a player is Taft Middleton? I mean, I was looking at his stats. I mean, 8 home runs, and he's also leading with the ERA for pitching as well.
Home run,
run score.
And then a batting average of 513. I mean,
Unbelievable.
He reminds me a little bit of Mason McCrane over at Glenwood. He leads the team in average, home runs, and has one of the most strikeouts. So, I mean, these guys are just phenomenal athletes, and they're 6'4" too, Coach.
Oh, yeah. Both of those guys are tremendous players, and hopefully they can turn Auburn's fortune around a little bit. They've been kind of down this year, but those two guys maybe. But, like I said, I look at one thing that just blows my mind is, yes, the 513 batting average, but Taft's on base percentage. We came out with a stat today. This guy's on base percentage is 622. That means he's getting on literally over 6 out of every 10 times he comes up to the plate. And that right there just blows my mind, because most guys that hit for power don't hit for average, and they don't get on base. But this guy's hitting for power, he's hitting for average, and then he's getting on base literally 2 out of every 3 times he comes up. So one of the key things that we did was earlier in the year, and I got to give credit to this kid, Taylor Hancock started out the year. He was batting 150 after about the first 10 games. But as you see, this guy, if you'll pull our stats up, this guy's almost hitting 400.
Yeah.
Got an on-base percentage of about 480. And, I mean, we moved him to the cleanup spot. And he has just really been a big lift. Not so much that he's hitting home runs. He just puts the ball in play and finds a way. He's a run producer. He finds a way to get runs in and to move people, move that guy from second to third, move that guy from third to home. So I'd be remiss not to mention him. He kind of gets overlooked sometimes because he's a cleanup hitter that's, not hitting double-digit home runs, but he just does the job, and he's bought into hitting line drives and hitting balls to the right center field gap. So we've just had a bunch of guys do that this year. I mean, Madden Dismuke and Novaleski, all those guys. Maxwell Jones is another guy. I mean, you can just go down our whole lineup, and I couldn't be prouder of a bunch of guys. They've adjusted at the plate, and I'm excited for them and for their futures.
Yeah, and we're excited about this upcoming game Thursday night and Friday night. Yours truly will be the play-by-play announcer, Coach. So we apologize. Last Friday, we were supposed to be there doing your semifinal game, but because of weather, Glenwood's winner-take-all game got changed to 2 o'clock in Montgomery, and then Calvary's was that night, so we didn't have anyone to be in town. I promise you, Chris Gates, who literally went from broadcasting the Glenwood game, was going about 90 to try to get there for your game too. And by the time he got there, you were already heading to the state championship. But looking forward to being on there with GIAA.TV, Coach. And we'll be cheering you on. Any other final words you want to give out there to the Columbus area? Because, we're all cheering for Columbus. It's Columbus versus everybody. So we're cheering for you, Coach. And Brookstone Nation, any final thoughts for them as you head into the state championship week?
Well, it's been a great year, and congratulations to all these guys, that have already, God, they put some pressure on us. Just joking. But,
right.
Like I said, we all talk and we all share ideas, and hopefully we'll get it done. I'm very confident in our guys. It's like we say all the time, we've practiced, but it's like taking the math test. When you go in there to take the math test, the teacher don't say, okay, well, you studied good. Here, I'm going to give you 60 points. You still got to pass the test.
Right.
So I think the way we've worked this year, and as much as we've got invested and the support we get from you guys and from our Brookstone Nation, Cougar Nation, and all the other people, I think we can get it done. And I hope we do. I hope we bring it back to Columbus.
We're cheering for you, Coach. Go Cougars, and we will talk to you hopefully as a state champion winning coach next week.
All right, I'll be looking for you guys up in Macon.
We'll be seeing you Thursday night, Coach. Thank you. That is Coach.
Thank you,
guys.
Greg Mathis of the Brookstone Cougars. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking to another legend. This is actually the first time I've actually ever interviewed him. Obviously been a big fan, keeping up with his stuff, but we're going to take a break first, and then we're going to have the Lakeside School, the Chiefs, who just won a state championship. They're going to have Tony Rasmus on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We'll be right back after these messages. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox. Discounted up to $6,500 off. Chevy's full-size pickup truck, the powerful Chevy Silverado, is up to $12,000 off. And big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Plus, enjoy no payments until fall. Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Georgia Alabama Sports Live will be on the road May 15 as we do our show live from Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC. Join Richard Holdridge and myself as we talk about the amazing finish to our high school baseball teams in the area, NBA playoffs, the Columbus Lions, Atlanta Braves, and so much more with our special guests. Be sure to come out and watch us live May 15 at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, and get ready to smile. Hey, we're cheesing right now because we cannot wait for that Wednesday in-person live show, Glenn Smith Showroom, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central. But let's go ahead and bring on our next guest. It is an honor and a privilege to have on the head baseball coach of Lakeside Chiefs, legendary coach at Russell County, Tony Rasmus. Coach, thank you so much for joining our program.
Glad to be here, guys. I appreciate it.
No doubt about it, Coach. Let's talk about, we'll talk about you and your legacy in just a moment. Let's talk about this team. And Coach, I was watching you being interviewed by Jack Patterson of News 3 WRBL, and you got emotional. And I saw that with Coach Fanning. I saw that with Steve Smith. And I'm like, man, my guys, I mean, y'all are really invested in these programs. What did this year and this state championship, we'll start there first. What did it mean to you after everything you've accomplished in your legendary career? What did this year mean to your coach?
Well, I've been out of it a few years, so getting an opportunity to get back on the field and coach again was, just I just felt real fortunate to be able to do that this year. And then to start off with a bunch of kids that were just so young. I mean, 8th, 9th graders, 10th graders, just a few older boys. And we started off the first 2 weeks just talking about baseball, not practicing because, their knowledge was limited. So to go from that point to that team winning the state championship, I mean, my goodness, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we were no hit 5 times by Lee Scott this year. Glenwood beat us a couple of times. McCrane, holy smokes, I have nightmares about that guy even still. Just watching him against us. So, from where we started to where we ended up was just a huge accomplishment for those boys. And you work with them and you practice with them and you try to teach them. And then, as you get older, you get more emotional anyway. But to see them accomplish all those things after where we started at was just. It just kind of got to me a little bit. My wife gave me heck at the end of it, but because I don't do a whole lot of crying, but it's just emotional moment.
Coach, your record really did not reflect the success of the team. It's really how you finish. And I actually look at your schedule, and I actually look at the teams that you played, like Glenwood, like Calvary Christian, like Pacelli in the Border Wars.
Wow.
Do you think that tough schedule helped you prepare for Class A ISA Class 2 ball when you were playing Edgewood in the finals?
No doubt about it. I know when I was at Russell County, me and Adam Mosley at Hoover used to always try to have the toughest ranked schedule on Max Preps, So I feel like every year I've always tried to schedule the tougher teams and in hopes that it would prepare our kids for a chance to make a playoff run.
Yeah, Coach. And say again, like Richard talked about, 25 and 23, but you take over a program in Lakeside, didn't have a lot of history in winning. You were just grateful, I know, to get the opportunity to coach and lead young men like you've done your whole career and sent many guys to the next level, which is the ultimate goal for being a high school baseball coach. But the improvement from this team compared to teams in the past. Now, I'm not saying talent-wise, obviously, you're not putting them up there with the number one team in the country 20 years ago. But the way this team improved, where do you rank that as? And how much they gotten better from when you're talking about they had to learn how to play the game, let alone being great at it?
Well, I don't know how to really describe it. I'll be honest with you. I came home every night and I talked to the banquet the other day, and I just made a joke, but it was almost serious. I said, I'm glad there wasn't a liquor store between here and my home. I had to stop every night, because I felt like, man, they didn't know. Even in the playoffs, we still couldn't get a guy to be in the right spot on some cuts. It's just, where this team started at and, where we ended up, it's really just remarkable, man. I've had 10 people call me today and ask me, how did y'all win with that group? And all I can say is, they just didn't know they weren't that good. They had so much fight and they refused to lose. We played Pacelli, and I think the coach apologized before we played. Excuse me, not Pacelli, Patrician. Before we played, I think he prepared me for them beating us. Talked about how good their arms were, and I was real apologetic about how bad my team was. And after the game, he said, "My goodness, coach, you don't have one guy that can play for us, and you just beat us twice." So we just came a long way. We just refused to quit, and we just kept fighting. I don't know how to explain it. It's really something special, to be honest with you.
Coach, truly a remarkable season. I mean, you've had a great historic career. We know about the accolades, the state championship at Russell County in 2005. Your two sons, Colby Rasmus, who played for the Cardinals, and Corey Rasmus, who played for the Braves. I mean, you look at all your accolades and also having two sons playing the big leagues and really spending a lifetime just developing players to play at the next level of really what does that mean to you as a coach and also as a father?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's. You when you coach your teams, they're almost like your kids. My dream was always to play in the big leagues, and I never had a dad, so I felt like I needed somebody to push me. I never had that. I had a mom to love me, but she didn't really push me real hard in athletics. I went to Glenwood. I was a part of 3 of those state championships.
Wow.
So when I had my kids, my one goal, I was always a lazy kid. Some of the guys that I played with at Glenwood could tell you I was the laziest kid on the team, no doubt about it. And so when my kids came along, man, I just refused to let them be as lazy as I was. I wanted to be hard worker and that kind of. So what I basically did was suffocate those jokers. I did to them what I thought I needed as a baseball player when I was growing up. So we were at the field all the time. So you go through all those hours and hours of playing, and certainly when your kids reach I always said if they got a college scholarship, I'd be proud. And to watch both of them play in the big leagues, and I don't know, I was in Toronto whenever Corey pitched against Colby for like only the 3rd time in the history of brother versus a brother. So man, the achievements we've had throughout the years, baseball wise, as a family, going to Little League World Series, winning the national championship, winning a high school state championship, national championship. It's awesome to go through those things with your kids, and it's just you're just proud of them.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Coach. And everyone knows you had some obstacles to overcome here in the last few years, and I think it is unbelievable that you have still get an opportunity to do great things as you should have been and should have still been doing here for the last 5 or 6 years. I appreciate Lakeside giving you that opportunity, as other schools should have. So what does it mean to you this year, after everything you've had to overcome the last few years, to win a state championship? I mean, and this is just me, Coach. It'd be hard for me not to turn around and say it to all my haters out there. How do you like that? Because I'm doing it at Lakeside where nobody wins there, Coach. That's just me. You don't have to do that. You're humble, probably more humble than I would be. But what did it mean to you personally to win this state championship and everything you've accomplished in your career?
I really hadn't looked at it, like my wife has, some of those same feelings you just described. But, I was just happy to get back out there because I enjoy it, and I feel like I enjoy teaching the game, and I enjoy developing the kids and trying to help them reach the next level. I listened to Coach Fanning a while ago. I mean, every time that guy speaks, I try to listen. He's got 655 state championships. He's doing so, I mean, the thing is, being out there was exciting. Getting the chance to do it again when I thought I wasn't going to have that opportunity again. So the state championship part, I mean, I'm not even sure if it's really set in yet. I mean, I just feel like I was fortunate to get an opportunity to get back on the field. I appreciate Lakeside for giving me that chance. I mean, they could have easily just, pushed me to the side. Like I've applied for 40 jobs the last few years and nobody even sniffed an interview with me. So I was thankful they gave me a shot. And, the kids, what can I tell you, man? I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And, so these kids were like sponges. Everything you talked about, I've still got some of them text me 10 times a day.
Awesome.
Questions about baseball and that kind of stuff. We won the state championship on I forget what day it was, Tuesday maybe. And on Tuesday afternoon after we won, a couple of the players said, "Coach, we're working out at 5 a.m." And I'm like, "No, bro, we're going to take 2 days off." So they're hungry to get better even still after winning that. So just been a great experience. Probably one of the more fulfilling in my baseball career, to be honest with you. I've had teams with better players for sure. I'm not sure I've had teams with more guts than this group we had this year.
Unbelievable, Coach. We're big fans. I've never had the pleasure of meeting you in person, but hopefully I will one day. I'm cheering for you. It really is. It's a surreal story, and I hope we can help put the message out there. What you're able to do here with this Lakeside team, man, it could almost be a movie, dude. So thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again. The great Tony Rasmus still doing great things with another state championship, and we hope to have you on soon, Coach.
Hey, man, I appreciate the time, guys. Thanks a lot.
No doubt about it. That is Coach Tony Rasmus of the Lakeside Chiefs, another state championship. All right, we go from Coach Tony Rasmus. Richard, we're just knocking them out. We're rolling, and I can't believe we got this next guy on because I know he is super daggone busy. The fact he's even giving us time shows you how much love he has for us, and we love you, Coach. It is A.J. Keogh of the Central Red Devils getting ready for a state championship week. Thank you for joining us, Coach.
Hey, fellas, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great, Coach.
Hey, that's great, man. I appreciate y'all having us, man.
No doubt about it, Coach. All right, let's go ahead and get into last week. Your kids just keep taking care of business, man. Yeah, you moved now to the number one team in the country. I know you don't care about that. You're trying to win state, but the fact that you took Auburn, in my opinion, to the woodshed in just in dominant fashion, especially in that second game. Talk about what that meant for you and your program as you head into another state championship, your third straight state championship series.
Man, I was just really proud of our guys, man. They were determined. They were focused. They had a great week of preparation, a lot of intent, man. They brought some energy, and they just found ways to get it done against a really quality opponent in Auburn. They got a great roster, a great coaching staff, but can't say enough about our guys, man. They really responded well.
Coach, on the way home from the Glenwood game on Wednesday, I happened to swing by Darnell Nelson Field because I just wanted to check out the vibe. I wanted to check out the atmosphere. It was pretty much the same as like last season in the semifinal against Smith Station. What an incredible crowd from both Auburn and Central. It felt like it was standing room only. Everybody had their chairs. The bleachers were completely packed. And it was just an incredible crowd, and you got the job done. And really, what does that mean to just the community of Central Nation just coming out and just in drones? I mean, we're talking thousands of fans. The entire parking lot was completely full, and I'm talking about the football parking lot too. It was just incredible atmosphere.
It really was. It was exciting. You know, and we're just really blessed that we got, you know, that we've had these opportunities, man. We've embraced them. We've had great support throughout the community and the school, administration, fans, parents, you name it. You know, our guys really appreciated it, and you know, it means a lot to them.
Yeah, Coach, and it means a lot to us that you come on the show as you're getting ready for a huge opponent in Bob Jones. You beat him earlier this year. How much of that have you taken into effect? You go look at that film, but do you feel like it's useless at this point? And what are your guys doing here the next couple of days as you get ready for that series on Wednesday?
Yeah, we did play him earlier. We played him the third game of the season. To be perfectly honest with you, it was really early. It was in Birmingham. It was at the PBR opener, and I think it was 26 degrees with 18-mile-an-hour winds in Birmingham. It was really miserable baseball conditions. You know, we were fortunate enough to squeak out a 2-1 victory in that game. You know, and I don't know how much we learned about them. We know they're extremely talented. They play hard. They've been there before, man. It's a really talented roster with a great coaching staff. You know, so they got a good club, man, a really good club. We have today now, we arrived in Oxford today. We checked in the hotel. We actually went and watched our girls. Our girls softball team is playing in the Elite Eight tournament.
Saw that.
And we got to watch them a little bit. Then we checked in the hotel, and we went and practiced at Oxford High School. Got that bus ride off of us, and we just had a team dinner, finished up, and we're heading back to the hotel right now. And we're gonna have a team meeting, and then we're gonna chill out the rest of the evening.
Richard?
So you're playing in Oxford. It's actually a new ballpark. It's a very top-notch facility, home of the Chakalaka Monsters in the Sun Belt Baseball League. And I know that just that atmosphere of being at the big ballpark, this is the third time. I mean, this team is familiar with being in the state championship. What does that mean just for the team to play under the bright lights, to play in front of the big crowd in a ballpark like Chakalaka Park in Oxford, just having this competitiveness going back to the championship for a third straight year?
Man, it's exciting, man. I mean, our guys are competitors. They embrace it. They love it. And hopefully they'll play their best. You know, you got to have your best players playing their best when you get this far. And, we're certainly looking forward to it. So, but it is a great venue. The city's very hospitable, and our kids enjoy it here, man. It's a nice environment for sure.
Well, we're going to be cheering for you, Coach, no doubt about it. Any things that you've been trying to kind of critique and make sure that everything's up to par when it comes to the state championship game? You know what? Let me rephrase the question like this.
Okay.
Coach Fanning, I don't know if you would listen to the interview earlier. Coach Fanning decided to play a freshman in the winner-take-all game who had about 3 at-bats all season, ended up going 3 for 4. Steve Smith, he pitched a freshman in a bullpen moment, 7th inning, in a 1-0 game in a game decider. These guys just put in guys that maybe not get a lot of limelight. Do you feel like you may have to utilize something like that in a 3-game series against Bob Jones? Or are you pretty confident in the way you have it, the way it's been all season long heading into the state championship?
Well, I mean, we are that. I mean, we're confident in what we've used, but we've used our entire roster, and we're deep. We've got 27. I think last year in the state championship game, we lost a player in game 2 for the last 2 innings, and had to use a guy that had hardly any playing time at all, and had a huge hit in that game. So, we really work hard at trying to make sure everybody is prepared regardless of their role. When today during BP, I mean, everybody is, it's not like only certain guys hit. All 4 of our groups went, so we feel like our guys are prepared, even our role players. And we've used guys off of our bench all year. So we're confident in that.
Well, Coach, I know you are. And again, we appreciate you joining us. We are looking forward to it. What time are the games on Wednesday? And can you have to get tickets in advance? You get tickets at the ballpark. You kind of know how that, if any of our listening audience would like to come up there and show support.
Yeah, GoFan. Of course, you can pre-buy or you can buy at the gate. We play tomorrow. Game 1 is tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern time. And then they flip the format. So then on Wednesday will be the game 2 and game 3, if game. And those games are at Jacksonville State. So they'll change venues on you as well.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know. That's pretty crazy. Usually you keep it in the same venue and you try to play a doubleheader in one day. So that's pretty crazy. Well, we're cheering for you, Coach. And hopefully next week when we're talking to you, you're a state champion winning coach, getting number 2 here in 3 seasons. Good luck to you, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys and everything you do for our sport, man. I really do.
No doubt about it, Coach. Good luck, and we're cheering for you. Thanks, fellas. AJ Kehoe of the Central Red Devils. Richard, let's take one more break. And when we come back, we got to talk about it, Richard. The Atlanta Hawks got the number 1 pick. And I don't know how to feel about it. We'll talk about that and more right here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show.
You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox. Discounted up to $6,500 off. Chevy's full-size pickup truck, the powerful Chevy Silverado, is up to $12,000 off. And big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Plus, enjoy no payments until fall. Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Georgia Alabama Sports Live will be on the road May 15 as we do our show live from Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC. Join Richard Holdridge and myself as we talk about the amazing finish to our high school baseball teams in the area, NBA playoffs, the Columbus Lions, Atlanta Braves, and so much more with our special guests. Be sure to come out and watch us live May 15 at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, and get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everyone. Thrift Barringer here with Richard Holdridge. Thank you again to Tim Fanning winning his 10th state championship for coming on the program. Thank you to Greg Mathis looking to win his first and Brookstone's first since the 1980s against First Presbyterian Day this Thursday. Thank you to Tony Rasmus, the great coach, Tony Rasmus. Unbelievable coaching job, what he did with Lakeside this year, Richard, winning a state championship in his first season on the job. And then thank you again to AJ Kehoe, the Central head coach, as he goes for state championship number 2. The Hawks got the number 1 pick, Richard. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. And how would anybody know? Because they had the lottery like
you texted me in
Sunday.
Mother's Day, 2 in the afternoon, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, but
hold up.
I didn't even
Mother's
watch
Day.
it. Normally, it's like on a weekday,
Tuesday or Wednesday, and during the
Tuesday
playoffs.
or Wednesday.
Yeah.
They decided to have it on Mother's Day on a Sunday before the Knicks Pacers game. I was going across my phone, and I thought maybe it was a fan that posted it, like hoping that
you thought you got bamboozled. You thought it was
I really
fake
did.
news.
I thought it was a joke.
Fake news.
Fake news. 3% chance to win the lottery,
and we won the lottery that nobody wanted to win.
Well, to be fair, Thrift, if you look at there are some good players in this draft. It's not a draft of superstars, but I do feel that they just need an all-star to maybe put them over the top. And I think that Alex Sarr is that all-star. 7'1" Frenchman who can shoot the three. He's a rim protector. He's going to play defense. He's got a great touch on his shot. He's not as good as Wemby, but I think he's going to be an all-star, and I think this keeps Trae Young here in Atlanta. I know I was listening to Sports Talk Radio. I was listening to Skip. I was listening to Shannon. I was listening to Colin Cowherd, and everybody is saying, oh, they're going to rebuild. Trae Young wants to go to a winner, that they're going to try to get some draft capital and trade either Trae Young or DeJounte Murray.
Draft capital in this draft, I'm not hearing it, Richard. That's not happening. I think they have to trade and get a pick and win now, because you lost your first-round draft picks to trade them for DeJounte Murray.
This is the even year. Remember, they traded their 3 first-round draft picks for DeJounte Murray for a 23, 25, and 27. You got lucky, and you got the number 1 pick in an even year. So the 2024 draft, go get the best player. The best player is Alex Sarr.
Well, I'm going to hold off.
By far.
Okay. I'm hoping that's right from what I'm reading, Richard. I'm not going to give an opinion yet. I need some time to think over it, because I want to know who they could trade this for. Could over the next few weeks they start hyping up, and this would happen. Someone from Atlanta organization anonymously putting out stuff that Alex Sarr looks like he could be even better than Wemby. Some astronomical hot take. So it makes the value of the pick go up higher, so they can trade and get someone worth trading for. Because I'm hearing that Mikal Bridges wouldn't be worth trading. And Mikal Bridges is a 2 or 3, probably a 3 on a really good team. You saw he made the finals with the Suns a few years ago. He was number 3 behind Booker, Chris Paul, and then it was Mikal Bridges. I don't know what to think. I do think that the Hawks are in a good position, because now they do have something that is worth trading. They got Murray or Young they can get rid of. That is still worth something. Both of them are on decent contracts, and Trae Young's young, so he can get away with that. And then they got Jalen Johnson. They got Okongwu, Clint Capella. They got assets to get rid of to maybe make a package and bring in a superstar. I don't think they're blowing it up, because I don't think you blow it up for someone like Sarr, who I think could be a good – if you're saying anyone in this draft could be a good 3-star on a championship-winning team, you're not blowing up your entire roster for that. It's just not happening. You're bringing them maybe on. I see it's more likely that they trade it and get something in value to pair with Trae Young, or let Trae Young play with him before they trade Trae Young and blow it up and let Sarr be the main, or whoever it is this year, be the face of the organization. I tongue in cheek, I was being funny, But ultimately, this is a good move for the Hawks. I mean, it was a lose-lose situation. You're looking like getting the 14th pick in this horrible draft, and then you don't know what you want to do with Trae Young and Murray and everything else. Now you got the number 1 pick. Now you got stuff you can package and maybe eventually turn this into a competing roster. I mean, look at the East right now. Giannis didn't play. He's hurt. Embiid had half a knee. The Knicks are about to roll out Spike Lee. They're running out of bodies so much. The Pacers are good, but they don't have Benedict Mathurin. Who am I missing out on? Cleveland? The Magic? Jimmy Butler didn't play for the Heat. It's the Celtics, and they don't even have Porzingis. You get a decent player, maybe a Brandon Ingram or Mikal Bridges with this Hawks team. They could be a top 4 seed next year in a very, I think, winnable East. Aside from the Celtics, everyone else is up for grabs, and everyone else's roster is in shambles. The Heat don't know what they want to do. You got Pat Riley calling out Jimmy Butler, Richard. Giannis, he is 1 tweet away from saying he wants to be traded. And I love the Knicks, but as long as Tom Thibodeau's there, they better find 10 players that are going to play. Otherwise, he's going to run them into the ground. And you saw that with Anunoby, Randall, and now Brunson too. So if I'm the Hawks, I'm not blowing it up, and I think it's a good thing they got the number 1 pick.
There's no question about it. I do think that Alex Sarr is the clear number 1 pick according to a lot of mock drafts, but you also have Nikolai Topic, the guard from Serbia. How about the 2 Kentucky players that didn't really get a whole lot of playing time for Coach Calipari? You got Reed Shepherd and Dillingham. I mean, but you don't need guards. You need a big man. You need a wing player. I mean, do you want to package DeAndre Hunter? I mean, you want to keep Jalen Johnson. I mean, he averaged 16 points a game, and he is cheap. But do you package Bogan Bogdanovic? What about DeJounte Murray? Is Clint Capella getting up there in age? I mean, he has been, he's definitely past his good years, but he still gets you double-digit rebounds, and he's a good rim protector, but I think he's more of a role player. I don't know, Thrift. I love this kid, Alex Sarr. I've been watching video on him, and I've been trying to read up on a scouting report, and I'm wishful thinking. I'm thinking that Sarr is got the potential of being an all-star. That his game kind of reminds me of like a Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, hopefully, but Porzingis also got injured a lot. I hear you, Richard, but you could make highlight videos and put together, good highlights for anyone. Ben Simmons, you can put good highlights up for this year, and he was atrocious. You can find enough highlights for 5 minutes. So I'm with you, and I want to believe in it, but it's also the Hawks, and we've had bad luck. Remember, they could have Luka Doncic. Don't even get me started. So it's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
How about this other Frenchman, Zachary Reschesher? Have you heard from him?
There's 2 foreign guys, and then of course Dillingham and Reed Shepherd. I need more thought process.
Jonathan Klingon,
please.
He's actually on the mock draft. Some fan wanted to get cute and put on a message board, go draft Bronny James. Are you kidding me?
It's because they think they can get LeBron.
They think
that's the case. I'll give up everyone else and draft Bronny first.
That is clickbait, and that would be.
It's basically I'm trading. I'm drafting LeBron James with number 1 overall pick. All right, let's talk a little NBA playoffs and then wrap it up for what we did last week and what we accomplished as Georgia Alabama Sports Live. It was incredible. Last week, I came on and I said, the Nuggets are done. I mean, they just ran into a buzzsaw, more athletic team. It could be possible, but I just don't see it. They're losing. And now Minnesota, who's on the brink of the top of the building, getting blown off heading into Game 3. They were so excited because this is the first time in 20 years that they've had a team that they actually think they could win a championship. And Nikola Jokic, Richard, he looked both of us in the face and smacked the heck out of us. Then he said, if you ever bet against me again, you're no longer allowed to talk NBA. Everybody wanted to come out. Jokic is done. How could he win 3 out of 4 MVPs? This guy's a joke, Rich. He don't play defense. He's overrated. That he's just a regular season player. Last year was a fluke. Goes in a hostile environment and just picks apart an athletic and the best defensive team we've seen in 15, 20 years. Jamal Murray, who was injured, was playing. I thought he played really good in game 3 and especially game 4 when hitting that half-court shot. But it was Jokic. You got Aaron Gordon playing outside of his mind. But again, he brings in a lot of his shots are catch and shoot or underneath the basket off of plays from Jokic. He was incredible, Richard. The guy just shows why he's the best in the game. And what we're seeing from this Nuggets team is the epitome of what it takes and what Rudy Tomjanovich said, the heart of a champion.
Oh, man.
Richard, to go in, it's one thing to go 2-0 and then you get to go back home and tie the series. It's a completely different thing to go down 2-0 and get blown out and then go on the road and do the same thing that they did to you, to them with all the momentum, undefeated at home. Anthony Edwards, by the way, put up over 30 in game 3 and 44 in game 4. It's not like he had terrible games, and yet you still won. And this is why many people thought that the Timberwolves are a year away, because they don't believe in Karl Anthony Towns. And he had a horrific last 2 shooting games. What I saw from Denver is why I said they're the best team I've seen since Golden State. I think that they are going to finish off Minnesota. I don't care. I'll keep going hot take each week. And I'm not backing off Denver until I see them dead. And I mean, like Jokic, like crawling because he's so exhausted and just like flopping like a whale on the floor. It's just like a fish out of water, flopping around. Then I'll say, okay, the Nuggets are done. Until that moment, I'm not betting against him. I'm not betting against the Denver Nuggets. They show why. This is what great teams do. They respond. You get punched in the mouth and you respond, or you cower back. This is not one of those teams. Anybody thought that Nikola Jokic was weak or mentally not tough, you don't know what you're talking about. Nuggets get past Minnesota. And if Minnesota gets past the Denver Nuggets, I think this is the finals right here. I think this team runs away with it. I think it's no competition against Dallas or OKC, whoever wins that. I think it's going to be Dallas. And I think if the Celtics don't get back Porzingis, they may get swept. Let alone if they get Porzingis, they're going to lose in 6. I think these are the best 2 teams in basketball. I'm going Nuggets. And what I saw these last 2 games, especially last night, unbelievable, Richard.
I think what happened is the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is a very physical team, the best defensive team in the NBA, caught the Nuggets off guard in games 1 and 2. But everybody was saying, oh, this series is done because the Timberwolves won both games in Denver. And then they had a 3-day break. They did not play until Friday. And so you have all this time to build up the hype and to try to talk how great Anthony Edwards is, which he's great, and to talk about how great Minnesota is. And I was guilty of it, Thrift. I admit, I got on this show, I've got on my podcast saying that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win the NBA title. And that was a hot sports take. I mean, that was just as bad as me saying Alabama going 6-6. I mean, that was a terrible hot sports take. I think that the 3-day break that the Minnesota and Denver series had up until Friday, it gave Denver a chance to just get more energized. They have been taking it in the teeth when it comes to the media, and they're not buying into the rat poison like Nick Saban says, and they went out and played their game. They were fresh because it was 3 days, and Nikola Jokic is showing why he's the best player in the world right now. Jamal Murray, who had a terrible game in game 2, came out and shown why he is clutch. When you have a player like Aaron Gordon scoring 27 points, and he's usually your defensive specialist, Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, they have players that know what it takes to win. I think even though this series is tied 2-2, I think it's over. I think that the Denver Nuggets go to the Western Conference Finals.
I think so too, Richard. And I think I'm definitely picking them. And it's really incredible. But this is the best series I think we're going to get in the NBA playoffs. I'm loving every minute of it. I got my popcorn out. I'm watching the last 3 games vividly and can't wait to see what happens, which for sure with that. To wrap up the show, I want to say thank you to Chris Gates, Torgar Isla. They were the producers last week for the Glenwood State Championship broadcast. Thank you to Tyler Redmond, who was on the call with me Wednesday. We appreciate him being a part of what we do, and he'll be on our show on this upcoming Wednesday in Glenn Smith. But last week, Wednesday, he was at the end of game 1 and there for game 2. And then Friday, I had Matthew White. You called a state championship game with him, Richard, and for the girls basketball, and I just called it for the baseball. Great broadcast. And then, Richard, you MVP performance. You go up to Alpharetta, Milton High School in Milton, Georgia, and you produced and called game 1 incredibly. You produced and called game 2 with me. I came up there just to help you with the camera and everything else, and we knocked it out the park. Incredible season this year, Richard. And I'm going to put it into perspective on Wednesday. I'm going to try to come up with some stats, Richard. That's our homework, is how many games we did this year, how many views we had accumulated. And just now that we are done, this is it for the 2023-2024 year. Man, if you would have asked us a year ago, we had just wrapped up the Calvary State Championship. And the last thing I was thinking about was that this is what's going to become here after a year is pretty surreal, man. I've been very appreciative of what we've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. And it takes people like yourself, Chris Gates, Toygar Isla, selflessly dedicating your time and very limited free time away from your family, just like me, to try to accomplish this. And it's more than just a me thing. I know everybody was like, Thrift, you started. It's more than just me. There is no way in God's green earth this happens without Richard. No chance. He introduced me to Toygar and Chris, and then both of them, what they mean to me. To call state championship games, Richard, in the first season. I mean, we called football state championships, Calvary and Glenwood. We called basketball. We didn't call basketball state championship on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, unfortunately, because Calvary would have been the only opportunity we had. We did. We got Glenwood girls. They played in the state championship. We got to be on the call for the Pacelli State Championship together, Richard, and then now baseball too. Incredible year, and we are thankful for everyone out there that is tuned in. We got even bigger things expected for year number 2, don't we, Richard? We are excited about it.
Oh yeah.
That I just want to say again, thank you. Having someone like a Richard Holdridge on your team, you can't do it by yourself. It's impossible. You got to have someone that works and grinds and cares as much about it as you do. So anyone out there that's asking me or wanting to start something, you got to have people that are willing to invest and have that same vision. And that's why we say we. This is a we thing. And that's why I love saying that me, Chris, Richard, Toygar, we are Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So I just want to have that thought. And I'm doing it all over again on Wednesday. So you better get ready if you're watching right now on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. But thank you again, Richard.
Thank you, Thrift, for discovering me 2 years ago as I was just an unknown broadcaster. Did it in college 20 years ago. I never would have thought that I would have an opportunity to call high school games, to call semi-pro games, and to do shows like we do every week. And I just
state
thank you so much for
soccer games as the lead broadcaster on GIAA.TV.
That's right.
I'm not going to let him get away with that. Richard.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Georgia
we had a great time.
Sports Live is GIAA.TV. Brett Taylor, you can agree with that. I was the voice for football. We both were the voices of basketball. And now you were the voice of soccer. We're both going to be there for baseball. I mean, we appreciate them. But, Richard, you're shining star, and we got such a bright future for next year. And we're like Josh Pate. We don't have an off season, so we're gonna have state of the program, sitting down with the athletic directors. We're gonna be hitting on with individual coaches, players. We got so much in store for you this summer. And then guess what? You know it before not you know it, but before you know it, heck, it's gonna be here August. We got high school football just right around the corner.
Yeah, we're looking at the schedule, trying to figure out where our first high school game day
Where's game day? And next year, game day is going – I'm telling you, if you liked it this year, next year we're taking even a step further. And we're looking for – we had bands. We had cheerleaders. We're going to try to have now students and, like, fan bases there. So we're hoping that we can get the schools really involved, and they were all agreeing that they would love to do something like that. Richard, we're gonna take this city by storm for sure. So we're excited about it. But thank you to Steve Smith. Thank you to Tim Fanning. Both of those programs, they allowed us to be there for every sport, and then finishing off with baseball with both those guys winning another state championship. Just an incredible season, Richard. Thank you to everybody that made it possible. To be able to be on the final call for both those state championships on Friday, Richard, with you, and then Matthew White and to go from Montgomery, from Columbus to Montgomery to Alpharetta in one day. A lot of driving, a lot of miles, but it was worth every penny, and I enjoyed it. And when you're grinding, and like DJ says, time flies when you're having fun. That's how I feel when we do what we do. And thank y'all again. Thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being the presenting sponsor. We're cheering for Brookstone. We'll be on the call for that. But make sure to tune in this Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Thrift, it's Richie Rich with special guests live from the Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC showroom. Look forward to being there. Thank you to all our special guests. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.